Welcome to Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing, one of the fastest growing real estate investing podcasts in the world. What if you could learn from experienced real estate investors? Find out what got them to where they are now. Get insight into their daily habits and take these insights to inspire your own growth. Each episode, Jonathan Greene shares an in-depth look at the mindful approach to real estate investing. Jonathan is a lifelong real estate investor and the founder of Streamline, a data-driven, investor-friendly, independent real estate brokerage located in Madison, New Jersey. Whether you're looking to start from scratch, get to the next level, or just for a straightforward and honest approach to real estate investing, this is the free mentorship program you can take with you anywhere. Now, here's Jonathan.
Welcome back to another episode of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. My guest today is Nick Corwin, the founder of Oak and Ember, a luxury micro-resort in Wisconsin. So think about this: 3 modern Nordic-inspired cabins, 40 acres of rolling land, and 1,000 feet from the Wisconsin River, built for slow mornings, crackling fires, and starry nights. The branding has begun. It's not done yet, and we go through how he got there in just 5 years of real estate investing now. This is episode 315 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Nick Corwin. Nick is the founder of Oak and Ember, a luxury micro-resort in the Wisconsin Dells area. He also has a habit of owning, developing, and managing unique properties. We're going to get into it. Nick, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jonathan. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, excited to talk to you. You don't have a long history in real estate, which was something that really interested me when I found a lot of your content on LinkedIn. Why did you first get into real estate?
Yeah, it started about 5 years ago, and I started off with long-term renting. And it was like a lot of people. I was looking to get some cash flow on the side and hopefully build a strong financial reason to be able to go out for myself one day. So that's.
But did you like read Rich Dad Poor Dad, or did somebody tell you, or did you read an article? Like, why real estate as opposed to stocks and other things? Because it's always interesting to find out what brought people to it if they didn't grow up in it.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I haven't. There's no like entrepreneurs in my family, and I didn't read a book, and so I think I just got. I'm an infinitely curious individual, and so. I wanted to achieve financial independence, and one of the more realistic ways, and I think conservative ways, in my opinion, to start is buying a condo and renting it out long term, and seeing if you like being a landlord. And so it happened by happenstance that I moved houses, and the person that sold me my house lived in my neighborhood, and he has like 35 or 40 doors, and he was an engineer like me and quit his job 10 or 15 years ago. And so I found out about that, and just one thing led to another, kept asking him questions, and he kind of became a mentor of mine. And so that's how I got started.
Yeah, that's all. I love what you said, though, to find out if you even like being a landlord. Because I always say that, I grew up with a dad who was an investor. So I was like landlording, on the side as a 13, 15-year-old picking up checks. But I don't think that people realize that you do have to test yourself to see if it's even for you, or if you want to manage the manager and pay out that property manager percentage. When you first started doing it, long-term, of course, is easier than short-term, that we're going to get into. But how did you like it at first? And then has that ever changed, just as terms of being a like standalone long-term rental landlord?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, because when I bought my first one, I had a good mentor, right? And did well on it. That was 2020, 2021 timeframe. And then, as we all know, as investors now, right, the rates went up and the calculus changed, right? So I'm in the Midwest, right? Illinois, live in Illinois, invest in Wisconsin a lot now. And, it's kind of it's becoming an open secret that it's one of the most affordable places to live. And so I'm still able to find long-term rental deals. Yeah. The 1% rule exists here more than in other areas. And so even at the higher rates, 7-8% as an investor, I could still cash flow. But, the monthly cash I was getting on that, it was a lot less exciting, So yeah, I bought my first one like 3% raise. Second one, it was like 7%, and I was making the same on the two, even though I put in twice the capital. And so, the amount of fun I was having seeing that number come in definitely decreased for me. And so it was, as I was like, now my numbers to reach my cash flow number, it just doubled, right? So instead of maybe, I don't know, whatever, arbitrarily, I forget what I even did, 15 numbers, now I needed 30. And I was like, shoot, being a landlord for 30 now doesn't sound nearly as fun.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And so, I mean, I had a good system. I didn't have bad tenants, but I still didn't want to be dealing with that at the scale of 30. I kind of extrapolated the day-to-day work that I had to do with my two, and I decided I didn't.
Yeah, you can tell that you've got the engineer's mind, because instead of thinking, hey, I got to join the FIRE movement, you're just like, okay, this cash flow is not enough. Let me just move up a notch to something where I can get the properties for still a good price, just make more income on them, right? Is that what started leading you towards short-term rentals and just a different scale?
Yeah, it was, yeah, exactly. I also looked into a variety of different options. Like I looked at self-storage around here. There's tons of land. Went down a rabbit hole. AJ Osborne has a podcast that I cannot understand. Well, I understand now because I listened to about 100 episodes, but like, how do you make 400 episodes about self-storage? He does, and it's interesting. But, I realized to me, that was long-term renting, but even at like a buco scale. And so I was like, well, that's definitely not where I want to go. And so I just kind of looked at all these opportunities, buying a business locally and things like that. And it turns out the same mentor had just built a lake house up in the Wisconsin Dells area. Did it short term. He did it for like family reasons, but he rents it out when he's not there. And so I picked his brain again, and I was like, hey, how's that going? What are the numbers? And I started diving into that. A lot of Bigger Pockets episodes. A lot of, I follow Jamie Lane, who's chief economist at AirDNA, right?
AirDNA, he's awesome.
And, his podcast and diving into AirDNA data and all these different kind of tourist markets, and started building my buy box out and decided to make a move on. So that's how I kind of settled in on short-term renting.
Yeah, with your background, I would think, like, I like AirDNA because I can literally look at every single piece of competition out there and just build something better. You know what I mean? Like, you can just see one after the other. Okay, this is the market. This is the bedrooms. This is the baths. This is what I'm up against. Can I achieve that? I can literally run their playbook if I have the money. Or you can see the top one and say, that's a little much for me. I'm just going to hit this mid-range. And you can kind of see, if you do it correctly, where you're going to finish. Did that appeal to you, coming from that type of background where it's numbers crunching, but also like you're liking real estate at this point? You just want to see how you can scale it.
Yeah, definitely. Coming up as an engineer, using data, but also realizing how to analyze it and using your engineering, using your engineering judgment. Because like when I went into engineering, because I'm like, I love this. It's going to be black and white. I'm gonna be able to solve all the answers and know for sure. And then you get out in the real world and you understand that's not the case. And so I always try to find that my own personal mix of how I can use the data and kind of find that answer in the data. So it's that there's just so much in the short-term rental compared to long-term rentals. The data's there. You can, even in AirDNA, you have to know how to filter it and look at it. But you could go into Airbnb and you can go into Verbo and you can see what these prices are, where these occupancies are, if you want to get dirty on certain properties and figure it out for yourself. So it's I felt more confident in investing in that area after digging into the data like that.
Yeah, and I think you're right. You have to be able to look at the data, but then analyze it, and then also put it into real life play, and not think it's going to be 100% just because it says, hey, that one's 80, that one's 100. So if I do the mid-range, I'll make 90. You might be terrible at operations.
Yeah, for sure. The operation side of it, that's what gets lost a ton. That's a huge difference between long-term rentals and short-term rentals. It's it's a hospitality business. It's no longer making sure that the toilet's unplugged. It's a lot different.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that's where a lot of people fail, especially during the pandemic. People were getting into short term rentals as kind of like, oh, well, this is my business. But they really weren't running it like a business, and they didn't understand how much you have to do or how many systems you have to set up to make sure that the guests are taken care of. Because if you do well, you have a lot of stays. That means you have a lot of opportunity to fail every single time, right?
Yeah, no, totally. And it's not dissimilar to other areas of real estate, commercial real estate and and multifamily. They all went through these cycles where you could kind of trip over yourself and make money. Um, and then the rubber hit the road the last couple of years, right? And people are
Yeah.
realizing now you can't just fool around. You actually have to build a business there.
Yeah. So after the long-term rental, what was the first short-term like property that you got with the intent to do a short-term rental there?
Yeah, so that was a couple years ago now. I was looking at doing something similar to my mentor, is building a lake house, and it turns out that his builder had a duplex in the Wisconsin Dells. And so for your listeners, like Wisconsin Dells is like a regional tourist area, and it's a town of 3,000 people, self-proclaimed world's like best water parks. So
Oh,
yeah, you can. It's crazy. So 3,000 people live there. 5 million people come there every year as tourists. So
yeah. Do the locals like it? I mean, that's the whole business. If you only have 3,000, you better like it.
yeah, it's yeah, it's a love hate relationship, right? Like
Yeah,
it.
that's a lot. That's a lot, though. That's short-term rentals in a nutshell. Like I work upstate New York and have a lot of investors there. And it's very weird how some of the towns up there are very against it when it's like, but if you're for it, all these restaurants can stay open. Now they
Right.
can't.
Yep. No, totally. If you yeah, you see that, right? The towns that have kind of shunned it or kept away or banned them, it really stunts their growth. And
Yeah,
uh,
I agree.
yeah, it's the sad part of kind of middle America. Hey, you got to do things to bring in more tax revenue, really, ultimately. So yeah, I had this contact through my mentor's builder, and this duplex, not a lake house, right? Quite the opposite, in fact. So it was in downtown Dells, but where I saw the unique value play here was she was renting it out as an Airbnb, but she had split the
Mm.
sides, so each side was 3 bedroom, 2 bath. I looked around and I said, "There's nobody. If I rent them out together as a 6 bed, 4 bath, there's nobody downtown doing that. It's just they're
Mm.
all
Yeah, family
small.
stay, two
Yeah,
families for the parks, right?
yeah, they're all small bungalows, and so like there's no big houses down there. So I could create my own niche down there, and so I knew enough from different data data analyses, right? Like it's better to be on the edges of the bell curve than in the bulk, and so especially in short term rentals these days. And so I was like, well, I don't want to be in the 3 bedroom market. To me, that's death. And so the 3, 4 bedroom, it's because it's the most common, right? All of our houses are 3, 4 bedrooms. So if I can
Right,
do a
but
six,
you
yeah,
would be in competition with single families as a 3-2, so they would always win for people who want more privacy. So this is actually really smart, but it's also a move I don't think a lot of people would see because you're just doing more analysis to say like, duplex people's like, "Oh, great, I'll just get two streams." But for where you're saying there is and what the tourist industry is, this is a great idea. It makes perfect sense.
yeah. And I think it's an underserved idea, honestly, in other metro markets too, where the regulations allow it. But you see this in every market with Airbnb with AirDNA data. Is that you can not only because you're just doubling the bedrooms, but your rates are going up more than double, right? So you can it's not just about less turnovers or less cleaning fees. It's really you're raising your margins too. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I started doing that a couple years ago, and it was that took a lot of extrapolation, right? There was nobody in that market doing that size room, so I kind of had to guess a little bit. But where the deal price was at, it made sense even in my lowest kind of projections.
Yeah, was it the numbers that gave you the confidence to kind of be only looking at your second property and saying, I'm going to do something that's the outlier? That's something that I would do, but I have a lot of, 30, 40 years of 50 years of walking properties. What gave you the confidence for the people out there who are like, oh, I'm too scared to do that, to just be able to go against the grain?
Yeah, it helped that this was an off-market deal, right? I had worked the networking. So, as you're aware, right, when you can talk to the seller and get more of a relationship, you can use that to your advantage. And so one of the things I was able to do there was get her actual 12 months data on her Airbnb business. And so I knew worst case, like this is what I'm going to be
Right.
able to do, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I knew I could do it. This was perhaps ignorant at the time, but like I felt I knew it in my bones that I could run it as a better business than she was doing, and then combine it with the both sides and really see a lot of potential upside.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, for investors, I think too many investors now only look at the best case scenario. That's why they're always failing. It's because they're trying to hit the top when you should always be trying to hit the bottom. And you're explaining that perfectly. Like all I have to do is literally leave all our furniture and leave it the same, and I'll do that.
Yep.
And even if you try the other thing and mess up, you could just fall back on that. Like that, you already know what your worst case is. So then being able to project and try for the best case makes it a lot easier instead of, projecting like just doubling the income, saying I'll do both sides, so I'll just double. Like it wouldn't make any sense, even though you
Yeah.
had both sides on the income. Yeah, it's interesting. I know that you're not a guru guy. That's what I read in the stuff that you sent, and I'm obviously not either. I can't stand it. And STR has so many guru things. Do you think a lot of people are getting led astray? Because there's not a lot of places that would like, coaching programs that would tell someone, hey, get a duplex with 3-2 on each side and combine them, because they just think units would work better.
Yeah, totally. There's it's the curse of social media and the gurus, right? It's not sexy. It doesn't sell. That's what's nice about podcast platforms, right? You can dive into a deal and understand why this works and try to relate it to your own situation that doesn't fit a 30-second clip.
Yeah, I mean, this is an idea that's come up. I had Steph Weber on of the Weber Co. not that long ago. They have a micro resort. It's about, I think it's like 10 units, but it's like 7 singles, and then there's a triplex. And she says it's always rented together. So it's like, okay, maybe people are going to start thinking, hey, duplex works. And the interesting thing is you were thinking lake house, but then you just went kind of traditional duplex that's not, right next to the park or right next to a lake, and it still works, right?
Yep. Yeah, totally. And I think that's a key to a lot of especially early on investors, is when your buy box, it shouldn't be too rigid that you miss out on good deals. Be flexible enough to consider other ones, because just like my first long-term rental, you don't always know what you want until you get into it.
Yeah, and on this 3-2 duplex, I mean, really, your worst case scenario is you don't enjoy doing short-term rental, then you just have 2 long-term renters, which probably be pretty decent there based on what you pay and what you could get for nice 3-2s downtown. Probably do okay on that.
Yeah, exactly. That that's kind of like the worst case, right?
Right. And it's still pretty good. I mean, That's Midwest. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Totally.
Well, so how did you find managing short-term rentals when you first started, for the people out there who are like, not sure if this is going to be for me, and maybe they haven't even been a regular landlord, because this is like, as we were saying, hospitality 101 comes into play, and it's not for everybody.
No, it's really not. And I think there's 2 things that helped me out a ton getting into it. One, being a landlord myself, and on the long-term side. So at least like facilities wise, I understood how to keep a property going. I'm a very handy person, DIY, so that gives me a leg up on my competition.
That helps. Too. Yeah.
And then 2 is that my operations background in my career, I'm always looking for ways to automate things, simplify things. And so coming in as a Airbnb owner for the first time, I just applied a lot of that same mindset. So, it sounds silly, but like, what also helped to like, or I was going to say, it sounds silly because like automating messages, that you think that's simple, but then people I talk to as other hosts, a lot of them don't automate very much. And so like they're sending check-in messages and like, thank you for booking. And like, here's your code to stay for the property. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, just automate that. And there's a way to put it where you don't sound like a computer,
I think most guests assume that the check-in messages should be automated. I mean, it's just smart business.
Should be. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And, it's, you really have to you have to have a lot of empathy, I think, to be a good Airbnb host.
I agree.
You have to get in their shoes, because there's quite a strong dichotomy between being a property owner and being a property guest,
Yeah.
especially on the short-term side. And if you treat it like your property and why are my guests acting like this, you're just going to frustrate yourself to all get out. So that helped out a lot too. And having stayed in Airbnbs myself,
Yeah.
what did I hate about other ones? How can I fix that as a host? That helped.
How do you know where to diverge between automation and personal touch? Because that's where I think people, they go to automation. It's certainly helpful, but then, a complaint comes in and then automated response goes out and they don't follow up with a personal response. And like, that's how you get bad reviews, because you don't know where to draw the line.
Yeah. That's one thing that I have not, even, even now I'm not using AI to respond to any message at this point.
That's what I would do as well. I do think, like you said, I think the things that you talked about are perfect to be automated. Things that are going to every guest, they have nothing else. But somebody needs to be monitoring the intake during the stay. Because when I'm on a stay, and I have a lot of experience as a guest, which is how I formulate what I want to do now, when I send a message, I want a response, like something's broken.
Yeah, right.
It could be like the toilet could be overflowing on it, and then maybe I don't know what I'm doing. Like these are urgent things. Like if you want to be an Airbnb host, someone, either yourself or someone you're paying, needs to be on that 24/7. They have to be able to get the alert.
Yep, for sure. And guess expectations are only increasing. And
it's actually a problem, don't you think? I mean, it's almost like too much. And there's also a lot of like guest finaglers now. We've seen a lot. I don't know if you've gotten them at your properties, but the ones who are just trying to get the stay for free, like they've read the playbook on being oops, you messed up. It's something to deal with. It's almost like squatters for long-term rent. You have now these like, Airbnb hackers out there. It's a little unsettling.
Yeah, it is. It's I haven't run into any horror stories on that front, but I have had people try to angle for that. Like they came in. I had one set of guests. They're like, oh, the next, it was like 2 days into their stay. They're like, oh, the sheets were super dirty. We had to do a ton of laundry. And I'm like, oh, well, I asked you how things were going yesterday with my automated, like, hey, check in, and you didn't say anything. Like, do you have any? Like, send me a picture. And you play dumb. Send me a picture so I can let my cleaners know so I can improve for the next guest, right? And
I forgot to take a picture. We just washed them right away. Sure, you did.
Yeah, exactly. It was so egregious. We couldn't wash them. So, anyways, yeah, there's a lot of people out there that are doing that more and more. I agree, and I have to. I learned this a long time in corporate, but it's like, treat every text, every email like it's going to be read in front of a courtroom one day. And I kind of take that same approach in my business. I don't, and not that I'm scared of anything, but it's just like, hey, if this gets taken out of context, what would that look like?
Yeah, that's why I think it's important to have the human in there, because later, especially for Airbnb, they're going to read the chain and see how you responded and who's being crazy. Hey, it's Jonathan. I hope you're enjoying this episode with Nick Corwin, talking about a quick journey into development. But if you have short-term rentals or investment properties and you're looking to get a little bump in 2026, you can do it by cost segregation. If you reach out to my guy, Sean Graham at Maven Cost Segregation, he'll give you the greatest opportunity and the advice to see whether it's worth it now or in the future. Go to mavencostseg.com/Greene, and Greene has an E at the end. Let's get back to Nick. The thing that is my pet peeve, just on a random side note, is when the same response goes to every review. It doesn't, like, it's just like, thank you for your stay. Oh, okay. Like they just actually made a complaint and you just said, thank you for your stay. That's where it is hard, because you set up the systems to help you make it work better. But I've seen so many that just miss the mark. And I think those are ones where you're wondering why your revenue goes down. They're not even know that they're at a 4.6 now, which on Airbnb is like having a 2.
Yeah, it's the death, and that's one thing too that guests don't understand is that anything below like a 4.8 really, or 4.9 even in some markets is kind of a death knell for you.
Yeah. But that's why they can pull the stuff that they're pulling, the ones who are doing it on purpose, because they know how much the algorithm does if they give you a 1 star. So it's almost like you're really put in this conundrum of, do I save it? Back in the old days, like 20 years ago when I was doing them with my sister, there was not really any algorithmic integrity that changed it. There wasn't that many properties. So it was like when someone complained, we're just like, it would be day 2 and we're like, if you get out today, we'll give you all your money back. And they're like, oh, well, no, I'm like, yeah, just get out. We'll give you full credit. They would never go, and the thing that we did, and I don't know if you're able to weed this out now, I still believe this. The people who ask questions that are obvious or in the profile, I just don't accept. Because they're always the same people at the end who are start to pull. They're 3 days in. Oh, the air conditioner hasn't been working. Well, why didn't you tell me on day 1? Now you're leaving tomorrow. So now we're like in this. It is. I mean, I think this conversation though should expose to people who are thinking, oh, let me just get an Airbnb. I would think twice about it before, because you need kind of almost like human resources experience to be able to deal with the kind of stuff. Most people are nice, but not all of them.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I think having my operations background, dealing with so many different types of people and so many different backgrounds themselves, leading teams at a young age, trying to relate to people that have nothing in relation to me. I think that goes a long way to making sure you're sending a text message to somebody, across the country and it comes across the right way.
Yeah. And at least assume they're in a good place, even though you can sometimes tell right away when they're not. But you learn how to get them off of their fake bridge that they're on pretty quickly. So you move on, you get the duplex. What was next after that? Because I think there's at least something or a couple in the middle before Oak and Ember.
So I started off, so that went well, like, and the revenue was coming in even stronger than I had projected. And so I'm like, well, I got my buy box now. I'm going to look for other sort of opportunities to try and buy bigger houses in the Dells, whether it was downtown or out in the woods. There's a ton of nature right outside the city, so it's great for that. And so came across a property. It was 40 acres, 10 minutes north of the Dells, completely wooded and completely unbuilt, unimproved. And it was a great deal, and I wanted to build some cabins out there. And so decided this was about 3 or 4 months after we bought the duplex, so pretty quick. And I had been following Isaac French and the work he did at Live Oak Lake and Ben Wolf with Onera. And not that I'm going to build Onera's massive compounds here in the Midwest, but like that inspired me to think outside the box even further. So I wanted to bring luxury, which is an overused word, but luxury cabins to the Wisconsin Dells. They have tons of Airbnbs. They have like faux tree houses. They have, they have cabins that the resorts run like next to the water parks, but they're cramped, they're crowded.
Those are less personal. Yeah.
Yeah. There's 10 of them all in the row and they all have the fake log cabin look and everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of families enjoy that. But I wanted to be, again, on the fringes. I didn't want to compete. So, we were in the middle of that process now. So bought the land December 24, and here we are in January 26, and we're in the middle of building that resort out right now. So we're doing.
It's supposed to be done in 26, right?
Yeah. So we're still working through some build issues that come up like any other project, but we're looking to launch probably late spring. Or at least be done with building. And then, I got to have some time to furnish it. So I'd say probably June is best case scenario at this point. Yeah.
What's the intent? I mean, the intent is 3 separate different types of properties. I was on the website. So, but a group could come and stay in them all also, right? That's kind of like the cool opportunity of these micro resorts. Because I have land in Palinville in upstate New York. It's 5 acres. it's not 40, but I'm seeing, I'd like to do 4 1 acre, basically plots with a different type of unit. So I'm thinking the same type of thing as you. And maybe it's because we both were guests of a lot of things. Like, that's where I would want to stay. I think it's cool. And I wouldn't be like, I don't like strangers next door to me at a hotel, but at this type of thing, you're not on top of each other. You each have your own vibe. And even if there was some collective amenities, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, that's kind of the vision. So, we got, I've seen all sorts of different these resorts built out. Some of them the houses are right on top of each other. They're right next to each other. Other, maybe a half acre at most between, and other ones that are more spread out. I like that feel better.
Me too.
I like how that's set apart. I think myself as a traveler and where I like hospitality, I really enjoy keyless entry. I love, I didn't want a front desk. I loved being able to come in and do what I want whenever. And so
I just don't want to talk to anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
In the old days when you used to book short-term rentals, the owner would be there and then they show you around. I'm like, oh my God, I just drove 6 hours. Can you just get out of here? No, here's where your towels are. I'm good. I'll ask you questions or I'll watch a video now. I think it's much easier.
Yeah, totally. So, we got our 3 cabins, or they're spread out on the lot. You try to utilize the land the best we can to bring in the nature inside of the cabin and make it a unique stay, truly, from that perspective, and something different. So I'm marketing myself on social media as the Del's first luxury resort. There's tons of water resorts all over the place, but I'm bringing the actual high end there. So we're starting with 3 right now, and 2 bedrooms and 1 bedroom.
No, nice. I mean, you'll still have room to build if you want later, if you can, depending on what they said. But you have a lot of acreage. So is this kind of a test case to see if maybe later you want to add some more in the same spot?
Yeah, it was kind of two reasons for the 3 cabin count. One was like a test run, basically. It was the minimum number I needed to really carry the overhead of the property.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yep, and then from there, the second one was on the entitlement side. So getting it rezoned and getting my permits to be able to do it. I felt, it's in a secluded area essentially, and I didn't want, I had just a gut feel after going through, I've sat on my own village zoning board here in Illinois, and just hearing all the stories and a lot of the NIMBYs that are out there,
it's insane. Yeah.
We talked about that at the beginning, right? And and so I felt, I just had a gut feel. I said, if I come in there with 4 or 5, an out of state investor trying to do something, they're going to shut it down.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you have 40 acres. No one can even see you. The neighbors aren't even close, but still they're going to create an unusual traffic pattern for the neighborhood with 5 instead of 3. NIMBYs drive me insane.
Exactly. Right. So this luxury retreat out in nature, I'm marketing quietness, right? But, I'm going to be throwing parties according to them, right? So,
right. We're going to put off a wellness vibe, but we're also going to, we're going to just put it on our own slides and music 24/7, definitely.
Right. So, it was probably half and half, honestly. So 3 was what I can make the numbers work on my pro forma and also get it passed by the city. And, if I'm successful here building this out, it's quiet. Nobody even knows I'm there. It's a lot easier, I think, to come back to the city and say, hey, how about 1 or 2 more, or
Yeah. How was the whole entitlement and getting the stuff passed? Because I think for a lot of people, me included, even just seems annoying.
Oh, it was a pain in the ass. I don't know if you can swear on air, but that was the nice way to put it. I truly did not know I was going to get it passed. I had to go through 2 different, I had to go through 4 meetings, planning and zoning for the city and planning and zoning for the county. But the city was the one that was the hardest one. And I had to go through, I did not know to the moment roll call was done, whether I was good or not on the planning and on the city board. So both of those were split votes. And which, I so, and I don't know. I don't want to.
What was their objection? If you know,
it's Airbnb the boogeyman. It's just the NIMBY. Even though nobody from nobody whose backyard touched the property was there, right? So it's
Right.
not in my backyard, but not in my 2
Yeah.
miles
It's
away
really
backyard
like
either.
not in my town.
Yeah, right. So that was the biggest objection, was that just like how can we allow this rambunctious sort of venture to happen in people's yards?
Yeah,
Uh,
and in upstate New York, I read a lot of the proposed language of new legislation against short-term rentals, and they always cite the health and welfare of the community, and I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? You have restaurants going out of business, as we said before. These are just, but you're going to like, okay, a very large hotel project, that's going to like ruin the septic and sewer for the whole town. It's just, oh man.
yeah, it was challenging, and I think it was just a culmination of all the, I constantly in my career having ran large teams at a young age, I constantly had to convince people to follow me, and
Yeah.
and as an outsider, so to speak, right? So just using that skill, and then having sat on my village board for zoning, I think was a ton of great
That's big
experience.
help. Yeah.
Yep, I could speak the language. I could understand what local small cities think about. My own city, here in town, I was on the board when they banned Airbnbs. I dissented. I was
Yeah.
like, no, I spoke for an hour about how beneficial this could be, how much tax revenue, and that didn't matter. So I used that same sort of experience to get it passed here.
What would be one piece of advice you would give someone who wants to develop, even small scale, just like say one short-term rental? Because I think, as we're saying, it's harder than people think. Like, would you do it again? And what's that piece of advice you would tell them, like how to get prepared for what's coming?
Yeah,
Obviously, it's going to take way longer than you think.
yeah. I think the entitlements is a huge landmine, and I went into it. I had to buy the property before I got it rezoned. It was too good of an opportunity, but I also knew that was my floor. I could resell it if I couldn't do
Yeah.
it. And so I think that's a huge thing, though, for people, is to be patient. Find your buy box in terms of like zoning, and where can you make this happen? Because trying to convince, especially a smaller city, to change is really hard. And I think there's tons of landmines I've come across here in development. But I think the biggest thing, especially nowadays, is just like when you're running your pro forma, before you talk to builders, before you talk to anyone else, double your costs and see if it still
Yeah.
works. Like, I mean, I'm not kidding, right? It's like, see, because things are going to cost more than what you expect, even if you're inexperienced in other areas of construction or things like that.
Yeah, and you got to pay the dummy fee all the time when you're trying to do something new. I mean, that's just it. I always tell people, new flippers, they're like, how much is it going to cost? I'm like, well, what does it say? Double that, and then double how long you think it's going to take, and then
Yep.
probably add a little bit more, because you don't even know that.
Yep. I'm literally going through it. I've doubled my cost, and I've doubled my timeline, and it's real.
Before it's complete, do you think you would go back and do it again? I know once it's complete, you're going to be happy with it, as long as they don't like corrupt it at all. But like right now, if you could just take the money and like just do something easier, would you? Or do you think like long term, this is going to set you up for other potential projects that maybe have bigger scale?
Yeah, I'm split on it, honestly.
Yeah.
I just looked at some houses was yesterday for potential Airbnbs, and I'm like, man, I could have used this
That
cash
looks easy.
just
Put some furniture in.
yeah, plug and play. I don't have to go through 18 months of development. But on the flip side too, it's I still obviously convicted that Oak and Ember, my resort, is going to be successful, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to be worthwhile. And it'd be. What I wouldn't want to give up is the experience that I've had and I've learned, because I know I can put that to other business ventures in the future as well.
Yeah, I just think that's a good mindset. I mean, I created this podcast about the mindful approach to real estate investing, and I think you're really providing a lot of guidance for newer investors, to just think about it, double check. You found a mentor, you You didn't read a book, you didn't take a guru class, you really tried to figure this out on your own. For those people out there who are looking at the guru stuff, what would you say? Because you got into it. I mean, you kind of lucked into finding the mentor, but what would you tell somebody else who like they want to get into short-term rentals? You consume the same type of content I do on, LinkedIn and social media. It's predominantly garbage. And then there's like, a few of us just saying what we feel like. What would you tell someone new about what's out there? Because, everything looks like it's the best.
Yeah. And I think the thing I've found about the quote unquote gurus, right, is the longer you follow them, the more research you do. I think if you're a logical person, the more holes you start to uncover and the more questions that aren't able to be answered and the more VAs you have to go through to get to that person. Right. And you're like, who's this? Like, why is this person the knowledgeable person? And so I think it's easy to fall in love with their message because that's the intent of their message. Right. And it sounds too good to be true. And it usually is. And so,
that's a good point.
Yeah. As I'm building out this resort, my old mentor, I say old mentor, like my mentor hasn't done this development work. Right. So I'm piecing together my mentors at this point. Right. I don't have an Isaac French in my back pocket, right, to talk to, but I follow his content. I have messaged him, there's my old mentor has done construction work. I've done construction, my wife was a project manager. So, piecing together that sort of mentorship across the board is doable. You can always do your own research, your own mentorship kind of in a way.
Yeah. It's interesting to me though, because I think that originally, like especially a long time ago, people thought, oh, short-term rentals, they have to be in a specific location. I mean, you're basically targeting an area with a population of 3,000. Of course, it does have big traffic because of the water park, but it's not a market that I don't think, maybe it does come up on lists just because the ADR is high. But, I've found over the years, especially since 2020, you can do a short-term rental and be good at it in basically any market in the country, way more than people think. Do you agree with that?
I totally agree with that. Yeah. And I think it's that old adage, like, do you want to be a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond? And so, it's what your buy box is, right? Ultimately, I think, because, but when I was I narrowed it down to the Dells. It wasn't my first true love. I looked at, I had a radius around my around my home base and where I could drive to. And so I looked at a few different markets in the Midwest area. And, there's some that I love going to myself, but I would never buy a property there because I can't find something at these rates. If you got investors, or you're all cash, you can play a different game and you can run different numbers, but it just depends what your situation is.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, it's just like I've learned a lot about Wisconsin because I'm in a multifamily syndication in Madison, and I've read a lot about Wisconsin in terms of like how much greenery there is, and it's like the healthiest state. So there's a lot of scale to it, but these are things that maybe people don't get because they're just watching another top 10 list on short-term rental. Oh, look, Gatlinburg. I mean, come on. It's like saying when people were still saying, oh no, yeah, you got to invest in Austin. It's like they were already on the downswing when people said this. So how wide was your radius? Like how far is Wisconsin Dells from where you live?
Yeah, it's about 2.5 hours door to door.
That's pretty far. That's like, so my where I go and where I'm going to buy and where my clients go in upstate New York maxes out at about 2.5 hours too. That's really the farthest I'm willing to go because I still feel like I need to be in driving distance. I prefer it to be less, but also that's going to cost more. So
exactly.
We're thinking the same.
Yeah, that was my reasoning. I kind of drew a 3-hour map. Like I wanted earlier in my career, I did some day trips on a 3-hour each way, and it sucks, but like it's doable if I need to.
I do it every weekend.
Yeah, so there you go. Right, like it is possible, and so. That was my radius. And that's how, I looked at, there was about, 4 or 5 markets that kind of in that tourist area. I did not want to be in a big metro. I personally want to stay out of those as an investor and in short-term rentals. And so, I eventually narrowed it down to the Dells.
Yeah. So in terms of design for your duplex and then especially for Oak and Ember, are you and your wife, are you guys doing that yourself or are you hiring someone to help with the design? Because I know with Oak and Ember, you're looking for a very specific look that's different from what everyone else has out there. And I've seen some people who are just they're just good with design. Like you're like, ooh, you did that yourself. And then, you see your generally male men who are like, I'll just, I'll get this couch. And then, hey, do you guys have you have a coffee table? I'll just put that in there. And you can tell when it's on there. So how do you do it?
Yeah, it's, doing the duplex. We also have another Airbnb too that we just launched. That's another unique opportunity, but kind of more on the traditional side. There's less risk to, on the design side there for sure. You can kind of get away with what you're talking about. On Oak and Ember here, we definitely can't get away from that. It's got to be a unique, it's got to be a cohesive feeling throughout the entire property, almost not just the cabin. We started off on the structural design. We thought, me and my wife, we feel like we have good taste, and we're like, well, if we pair up with somebody else on the design side for the buildings, we could kind of combine our minds and get there. And it fell on it fell down. Like that builder was not equipped with that. And so we went in and hired an architect who had done a similar project, and at one of the places we loved and we'd actually stayed at. And so we're like, wow, this architect knows, we hired someone that knows what they're doing on that front. And they've, if I was 80% of the way there, they brought me up that 20%. And so that's what you're paying for.
But that's going to be a huge difference on your ultimate ADR and scale, because look, most builders, they're not architects for a reason. Architects are seeing a vision and also what something can look like, but also the functionality of it, where builders are, they're good at following the things, but I don't want to get my advice on what to do from them. I want them to be really good at their trades. It's a really good point and a good tip for people getting into it.
Yep, for sure. You got to know where your gaps are, and you have to be willing to pay for it sometimes. Yeah.
And then, so before we hop off, for the three cabins at Oak and Ember, they're going to all be kind of like different vibes, right? I know it's a 2-1, a 2-1, and a 1-1, but you're kind of branding them as different feels.
Yep. Yeah. So it's 2-2, 2-2, and 1-1.
Oh, 2-2. Nice.
So
that's really good.
Yeah, it'll be kind of like each bedroom has their own. It's their own suite essentially, right?
Oh, that's great, because then you get two couples. You max it out there, or a couple and a couple kids. Do fine.
Yep, it was kind of a hedge, if especially being in the Dells with all the water parks. If families want to come up here, for sure. We're targeting romantic couples, romantic getaways. Millennials getting away from their kids, or the older generations looking to have a fun week or weekend. And so, but we're not dumb either. We're in the water park capital. Like there's families coming up here.
Let's make an allotment for children.
Yeah, exactly. So I have 3 kids. I get it. Right. So, So, we actually took a design. Me and my architect, we worked together. We came up with a design that kind of had each bedroom and then the kitchen on the one. It's connected by a glass foyer. So if you go on stayoakandember.com, you can see that
I'm on
design.
there right now. Yeah.
Yep. On LinkedIn, I've shared it a couple of times, I think. So it's got this glass foyer. And what it allows us to do is kind of like use those as like modular units, almost kind of like a container home you see sometimes.
Yeah.
And so we took that same design and then modified it slightly, I'd say. But it was a lot of design work, but modified it in 3 different ways. And so...
So they work together, but they're different layouts.
Yeah, exactly. So each spot on the land, different contours, different things to focus on. We're building a pond for one of them, and so we modified the way our layout was to fit the land. And so same design in my head, but when the guests get out there, they're going to be like, each of them will be very.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, it's been a pleasure. Is the best place for people to follow that at stayoakandember.com?
Yep. That's the best place to go. You can find my contact info there. You can sign up for my email list or my socials. I'm at Korwinning, my play on my last name. So I'm on any of the favorite socials that way. And so I'm posting my daily updates on the build of the resort there. And then LinkedIn, I love to post and interact with people, and I talk about general
Yeah, it's
investing.
nice to see you as a human there. There's just a small group of us left who are actually like actually doing our own accounts there. It's just a bunch of ghostwriters just flogging each other all day.
Yeah, ghostwriting and Claude and ChatGPT,
Just a
and they all respond to each
disaster.
other.
Exactly. I've been saying that lately. I was just trying to post about like the LinkedIn daisy chain. It's like one ghostwriter going into all the accounts and then commenting on them. It's like the algorithm's smarter than you. Like they know they're gonna figure it out. Like you're making the same comments. It's like one person just like schizophrenically talking to themselves the whole day as 11 people. It's so ludicrous.
Yep, it's just total gaming of the system, and to me, it doesn't pay off. That's another
It's
way
going
to
to backfire.
It's another way to flag those gurus too.
Yeah, exactly.
Stay away.
Yeah, I agree. 40 emojis in the post. I don't think so. People don't talk like that. This is not a child's app. All right, man. Great to get you on the show. I look forward to following the progress of Oak and Ember. What's your target date?
Yeah,
of course we'll extend that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, double whatever I tell you, right? So I'm hoping to open up bookings soon for July 1st. If I can open up sooner than that in June, that'd be ideal.
Awesome, man. Well, good luck. It looks really cool. I can't wait to see it come to fruition for you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jonathan. I appreciate it.
All right. That was Nick Corwin. Again, you can find and follow the updates at stayoakandember.com, where you can find Nick by Korwinning all over social. I'm Jonathan Greene. We'll see you next episode. Thanks for sticking around to the end so you can get a preview of who's coming up on episode 316 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. And it's Stuart Gethner, a seasoned real estate investor who has personally invested in over $10 million in single-family residences, commercial properties, industrial complexes, land opportunities, and hard money lending transactions. We go through it all with Stuart next episode. See you there.